welcome to Ripple Field. Man, I just love the music that plays in this overworld area of World 3. It's just pretty cool. I gotta love the soundtrack in this game. Like, you gotta give it props. So this is essentially the water-based world in the game, and as you can see, we have arrived at kind of more of a tropical islandy themed area here. Now, this was also a theme that was repeated in a couple of other 2D Kirby games I can think of, like Kirby's Adventure. I know definitely had some island stuff going on, as well as the prequel, Kirby's Dream Land. So we had float islands, of course, in the very first Dreamland game. So it does repeat cycles of environments that we have seen in the past, but as you can see, we do have a little bit of a twist here. If you do consume the rock ability, you will be able to roll down those little hill areas. And I think there was also something like this in Kirby's Adventure as well, where you had the, they actually had the wheel ability where you could just kind of roll with the gigantic wheel. And this time around you can do it with the rocks, so kind of cool. And yeah, we are actually going to be finding our third and final animal pal, which is Kine. He is the gigantic fish creature. Cute little giant fish creature that we are going to be locating here very soon. I think it's in the next stage. Unfortunately, that energy drink has gone to waste because I'm not going to waste a hit of health, a piece of health to get more. We'll go ahead and enter this passageway here, and we have to. We want to get rid of these guys. They're kind of surrounding the entire place, as you can see here. But something I failed to mention actually in the first episode. Or actually in the first episode is I talked a lot about how much I love the color palette in this game and how bright and beautiful this game does look if played on the Super Game Boy. But I failed to mention that I actually added a little bit more color to it myself. So I'm actually using a filter through my video recorder where it actually makes the colors pop even more. I don't know if it's a huge difference. From what I looked at, it did make it at least a little bit more colorful. Not necessary because it is, again, a very gorgeous looking game if played on the Super Game Boy, of course, as opposed to its typical black and white format if played on the original Game Boy. So kind of cool. I just wanted to kind of mention that. Here we have these water currents that are going to blow you in a certain direction where you really can't fight against them. But right now we're going to actually take on this jellyfish mini boss. This is Master Green. I don't know where the hell he got that name from because he's not green at all at any time in this game when you encounter him. But he is actually going to be holding one of our animal friends, and I think you know who's in there. The one that we have yet to discover and actually join on our side. The one animal buddy that we have yet to discover, of course, it is Kine. So we need to take this jellyfish out. He's pretty simple. He's probably one of my favorite mini bosses because he is a lot easier to take down, and he gives you one of the best abilities, which is the static ability. Very nice. But as you can see, we have now reunited with Kine. He is our fish friend. Fish are friends, not food. Just keep that in mind. You always have to remember that very important vow. But anyways, yeah, so Kine is very efficient when using him underwater. He can swim really fast. He is effective at fighting against those water currents. You can actually use him and his swimming speed to actually fight through it. So you can get to locations and areas in the level where you normally wouldn't have been able to without him. So kind of cool. That's probably the end of his usefulness in the game because from what I understand, he's probably the most disliked of the three animal friends just because unless you are using him underwater or you know, in a swimming level, you are probably not going to find a lot of use for him otherwise. He is very awkward to play with if you are out of water. So as you can see here, we are not on land yet, but he is he's very hard to control when he's not in the water. He can't swim, obviously, because he's a fish. He needs water in order to do that. So playing with him outside of water is a little tricky. He moves around very sluggishly. You can jump with him. His jumps aren't quite that high. You don't get a lot of height with the jumps. He does jump pretty far for the most part, but he is kind of hard to control overall. Just not very fun to control just in general, I would say, is kind of my overall opinion on him. But otherwise, in the water, he, you know, it fits him like a glove. Obviously, he's very effective, very efficient, and he can get you to locations that you normally wouldn't be able to get to. So very nice. We'll go ahead and end the second stage, and we're going to be just one cloud shy there of the 1-up, unfortunately, but that's all right. And that's going to do it for stage 2, so we just have one more stage before the boss. We're going to go ahead and do that now. And this one, I believe, is where our next rainbow drop is actually going to be located. So we're going to go ahead and head on in. And as you can see, we have more underwater gameplay here. So yeah, like I said, Kine is very useful in water, just not outside of water. I will say that there are definitely going to be moments in the game, especially later on, where we have specific puzzles that we need to solve by using Kine. I can definitely think of a couple of raindrops, at least one in particular, where he is required to get. And, you know, once we get to that point, I'll kind of talk more about it. But he does have some benefits to using him later on for sure. So he's not completely useless. And I can't really hate on him too much overall. I gotta be honest, I can't hate on the guy. But these guys popping out of these pipes kind of remind me a little bit of those snakes from Super Mario Brothers 2 when they come pop out of those little containers. I think it's like one of the very first levels. I don't know what it is about them, but just kind of reminds me of that when I see that. But I will say that Kine's best ability that you can have while riding inside of his mouth, which, by the way, I have to say that is the grossest thing I've ever heard of. It is kind of cute to see Kirby's head kind of poke out of his mouth, but you have to still think about it in the terms of, like, this is still a fish, you know what I mean? Like, think about, like, sitting inside of a fish's mouth. It has to stink in there. It's probably all not, you know, gross and smelly. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like the greatest thing to do, but Kirby is going to sacrifice a little bit of himself, and, you know, I guess his values in order to give us a little cute appearance here where he just kind of pokes out of the fish's mouth. Still a little weird, but it's kind of cool. Here's where we're going to find the third rainbow drop. Hidden in that little underwater cavern is where you're going to find it. And we can go into this entrance, and that's going to shoot us back out to here. So yeah, as you can see, Kine is required for that one. You could not have fought against that or that water current without him. So first required rainbow drop with Kine is done. We will have another one coming up later on. We're going to go ahead and head into this doorway now, and we have more of these water currents, and I know I already made the comparison between this game and Super Mario Brothers, but I mean, come on, the pipes being underwater, shooting out the water currents like that, I feel like that had been an inspiration taken from Mario, you know, the original Mario games where that occurred. It just had to have, right? There's an energy drink right there. We'll go ahead and grab that. We have more of these little frog creatures, enemies we want to take care of. They are pretty much situated at every little corner in this water maze, from what it looks like here. So we'll take care of them, and we will continue right along. But yeah, I have to say, riding in a fish's mouth has to be the most uncomfortable experience. You know, I don't know what it is. I wouldn't want to be in a fish's mouth, that's for sure. So we went ahead and got to the top cloud there. We got a 1-up, so that's pretty good. I think 20 extra lives at this point in the game is probably going to be good for the rest of the game, especially once you have like over 20 and maybe even closer to 30. So not too bad. I'm not really complaining. It's kind of cool how you can kind of chill under the water there with Kine. So kind of cool how they have that in the overworld. But now we're going to jump into the next boss. And we are now facing off against that one boss from Banjo-Tooie. Remember him? No, just kidding. This is Sweet Stuff. As sweet as a name that he has, this guy is actually a force to be reckoned with. Sweet Stuff is an anglerfish. He's going to use the light that rests atop of his head to shoot these electrical strikes at you underwater. You just want to simply avoid them, and then you can use the squid-looking creatures as well as these starfish-looking creatures as ammunition to shoot back at him. Doing this while avoiding his attacks, he should go down very easily. And off we go to the next destination. Hold on just one second. We are returning back to World 3 once again because, of course, as you know, we do have a bonus chance to take on. So back into the boss door we go. This bonus chance is going to be a little bit different. We are going to be just swimming underwater. We probably could have did this with Kine. I think it's much easier if we don't have Kine, just my personal opinion. Obviously, we just want to collect all the stars that are in our path here while avoiding these Gordo. Now, the Gordo are kind of hard to avoid once you get to a certain point in this path. I have practiced this. Damn it. Darn. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Crap. Okay, I was really close there. We're going to try this again. I'm not sure how many attempts of this I'm going to leave in, but we'll see how it goes. So far, it's not going well. It's not going well at all, friends. Alright. Come on. I think it's the best strategy is to have like a slower pace going there, and then you kind of just swim up whenever it's very needed. Like, oh man, damn it. I was so close. Are you kidding me? Alright, bonus chance. Attempt number, I lost count. I think a good strategy here is to not get too ahead of myself here and only swim up when I absolutely have to. You know, for example, if there's a Gordo, you know, right in my path. So we need to go ahead and do that. Here we go. Alright, not too bad. We're not doing terrible. We're collecting these stars like we need to do. That one right there throws me off because they're so close together. They just... very hard to know when to swim up, so... Holy crap, did we do it? Okay, we did it. Not too bad. Probably not one of the harder ones, but I guess it was a little difficult, so maybe it was. I don't know. But I think there are definitely some harder ones coming up later on. It's now time to finally get the hell out of Ripple Field, and we are now moving on to World 4. It looks like we have a little bit of an icy environment that awaits us here. You know how I feel about snowy and icy levels in video games? I go crazy about it, so let's jump on in. Welcome to Iceberg. This is probably one of the coolest, no pun intended, overworlds in the entire game. You have that giant ice platform on the very bottom you kind of slide around on. You have these beautiful, gorgeous looking snowy mountains in the background. Like, this place is like a dream come true. I know I always obsess over snowy levels in games, and I've probably done it in every Let's Play that I've ever done on this channel, but this one is just really cool looking, especially with the blue color. Blue is my favorite color of all time, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I have such a bias with this world and how it looks. I think all the colors obviously in this game look really good, like the greens, the yellows, the reds, but the blue looks really cool. Again, no pun intended. We want to go ahead and grab the flame ability in order to melt these ice blocks. That way we can go ahead and reunite with our good friend Rick the hamster. He's probably a little chilly, but he has more fur than Kirby does, so I'm sure he's warmer than a bee in its hive, so... And unfortunately, I let my friend down by letting him die a very horrible death. That's very sad. Alright, go ahead and pick up the flame ability again. We'll go ahead and grab Ricky. I'm gonna start calling him Pretty Ricky, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong to say about a hamster, but... might have to rethink my my life choices here. So we're gonna move right along. We have a lot of icy pathways here. These guys really annoy me because they will not stop harassing you the moment you cross them. Like, they see that you're crossing in their territory and they just do not want you to forget about it. So here we have the introduction of the penguin creatures. We are actually going to get a new ability we have not yet obtained in the game yet, and it is the ice ability, or the freeze ability. I can't remember which one it's called. The freeze ability will allow you to simply freeze enemies. It'll turn them into ice cubes, and you can actually use that as ammunition against the other enemies behind them. You can actually lunge the ice cubes at further away, or enemies that are further away, so pretty nice. It actually is probably one of the more useful abilities, especially from this point on in the game, because you have a lot of enemies that will spawn in pretty much in every stage from here on out at a time. Now it is time to face Mr. Blocky. I believe his name is Blocky. He is the rock elemental mini-boss, so he will give you the rock ability once defeated. However, since we have the ice ability, we can kind of take him out with really no issue at all. He's pretty easy regardless, even without an ability, but with the ice ability, he's pretty much cake. So Now that he is done, we'll go ahead and consume the rock ability, because it's almost like every time they give us a specific elemental mini-boss, we have to take that ability in order to use it in the next area. So there's probably a reason why we need that ability in the next location. And as you can see, we are now rolling down these very snowy hills. So kind of cool. They make good use of this rolling mechanic here. I do like this, and I'm glad it was also in Kirby's Adventure. It just makes things seem very smooth. I don't know what it is about it. I just like kind of sliding down hills in the game, and just kind of taking out enemies, you know, one after another. It kind of makes up for the fact that, you know, as many times as you can die and get hit by enemies in the game, you kind of get kind of a free passer. We can kind of just roll right into them one after another. So kind of cool. This stage is going to introduce the windy mechanic here. So I guess you could consider this stage like a side scroller, but you're essentially just getting blown across the entire stage by this giant cold wind. It's a little bit of a challenging mechanic. This did happen in Kirby's Adventure in one of the worlds. I think it was around World 4 or something like that, where you had to fight against the wind. And they bring it back in this game as well. It's really not as hard if we have Ku, which I do believe we're going to get in this bag here. But we're first going to face off with this umbrella mini-boss. So we just want to spit these things back out at him, consume him ourselves, and we now have the umbrella ability. So you know what that means. Once we have Ku in hand and our umbrella combined, we are going to make quick work of the rest of the stage. So very nice. We can now travel directly across from the entranceway that we just came out of into this one. And now we have these falling icicles of death. So with Ku and with the umbrella, we can pretty much get through this without any hesitation. I just want to grab as many of these stars that are kind of chilling here at the sides. It would have been mean if they had forced us upwards by, you know, doing one of those side scrollers where it's more like a vertical scroll, where you kind of, the screen is like moving upwards the entire time, and if you do not go up enough in time, you will die. That's definitely coming up in a later stage, but for now, it looks like they're giving us quite a break. So we'll go ahead and enter this passageway here. Have more of these star blocks we can now easily take care of with the umbrella ability. And we're going to make fine work of this place, so not too bad. And it looks like we have a blockade of icicle or ice cubes. We have some right beneath us there, and then if we go up here, we have some more blocking our path up there. So you know what that means. That means that we need to grab another ability. If we go into this room here, this is actually interesting. They give you a limited amount of rooms like this where you will have like a large group of elemental enemies where you can essentially pick and choose which ability that you want to use, or if you need a specific ability. They give you options there. We get a 1 up there, pretty cool, which is kind of nice, and I do like the fact that they do that. I did miss the mechanic in Kirby's Adventure where they had rooms in, I don't know, I can't remember if it was every single world, but there were specific worlds that had, instead of entering like the next stage, you could enter a room where you would be given creatures that held specific abilities. So if you wanted to replay a stage or maybe take on a boss that was kind of challenging and you wanted a specific ability, you could go to that, you could travel back to that specific level and find the copy ability room and grab whichever ability you needed. That was very nice, and I wish that they had that in this game, but unfortunately they did not. But I think they make up for it a little bit by giving you those rooms just in various stages that give you, you know, like 6 of those creatures that you can kind of pick and choose which ability to select from. So kind of nice. It doesn't quite fully make up for the lack of the rooms, but I'll take it. And it is now time to face off with Mr. Frosty. This guy is probably one of my favorite mini-bosses. He just kind of, I don't know, he's more reserved. He just feels like he doesn't want to be here and he doesn't want to be doing this to us, but he has to because he's taking orders from a higher power. But he's going to give us Kine back, so we'll go ahead and grab him because I think he's going to be useful in this section coming up. We'll combine him with the flame ability and he will become a force to be reckoned with. And I guess we're going to lose it in the first 5 seconds of entering the water. I'm just kidding, I grabbed it again, but having the flame ability with Kine is a lot better. We can kind of, obviously he spits fireballs, so that makes trashing enemies a little bit easier, I think so. He is a little awkward to fit through these narrow passageways because if you have blocks that are blocking your way like there, and even with an ability, it's hard to aim at them because Kine is just so damn large. It's hard to fit him in those passageways with having enough, while still having enough room to make the jumps in order to to make the jumps that you need to make in order to break those blocks. So just kind of maybe a nitpick that I have, but I've always found that difficult with Kine. Like right here, for example, it's a very narrow passageway. Oh crap, wait, what the heck? Wait, what happened? What's going on? Alright, so minor hiccup there. I actually lost connection with my controller. It was actually a little bit of a technical issue. We got it all figured out, situated. We are good to go. But like I was saying, Kine just is a little bit awkward overall just to control, like I said in the previous level. But when he gets in these like very narrow passageways here, it just makes things even more difficult to proceed, at least with him, because some of those blocks you need, you have to really jump at the right time in order to aim your attacks at them, and doing that with Kine just makes things a little bit more complicated, I would say. So, but man, this level just looks amazing. We have, I don't know, this blue texture just reminds me of something. I don't know what it does. We're going to move right along here, and as you can see, we have the introduction of these disintegrating blocks, or these disintegrating platforms, if you will. Makes things a little trickier, especially if you just fall directly down to your death, like I did. Alright, so we're going to try that again. We unfortunately had to ditch Kine because we died. We're going to see if we can do this with just Kirby. It probably is going to go a lot easier because we don't have to rely on, Kine's, a big floppy fish flopping all over the place. Yeah, disintegrating platforms are kind of hard to maneuver with Kine, or really any animal buddy. Rick can at least jump a little bit better. He can move around a little bit more swiftly. But if you have Kirby's glide ability, it really isn't that big of a deal because you can just float back up if you do fall through. That's going to do it for that stage. We have finished it, finally, and we grabbed ourselves a maximum tomato to reward ourselves for all the headache we just had to go through there. So it's now time to enter stage 4. This is the last stage of Iceberg. Let's head on in. So this is the mini-boss that's going to give you the flame ability. His attack patterns are actually kind of annoying and a little bit unpredictable, and I've always found it to be just really awkward. So he will act like he's shooting directly towards you, like right there, but he ends up in like the air, and then he does this move where he will turn around at the last second and then aim downward in a diagonal form. I don't know why, I've always thought that was annoying as hell, and it just makes it harder to predict where he's going to land. So I always pay attention to where he's landing versus where he starts, and that's always the strategy I use to take him down. Once taken down, he will give us the flame ability, and damn it, I did not need Rick there, I needed Kine. So once you have the flame ability from that mini-boss, and you have Kine popping out of the bag, those are the two requirements you need in order to grab the next rainbow drop. We now enter a side-scrolling part of the stage where you have to really avoid all these enemies, because if you don't and you lose your flame ability, or if you lose Kine, of course you cannot get this next rainbow drop. So keep that in mind as we go into this next part of the stage here. We have more of these disintegrating platforms. You just kind of want to avoid them, and really just keep your eye on the prize and focus on your pathway here. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these side-scrolling stages in this game. They're probably not quite as bad if I didn't have to worry about the fact that I have to collect every single rainbow drop in order to get the 100%. If you're not going for 100%, these stages really aren't that big of a deal, but moving around inside of with Kine is a little bit of a chore on land, and especially in an ice zone where things get a little bit tricky to do here. It's really not that bad apart from that, but the fact that we have to hold this ability, try not to get hit even a single time, because of course we're at risk of losing our ability and our animal friend, it just kind of makes it a little bit more complicated. So, but we're doing not too bad of a job here. We could do better, but this is where we need to be actually. So if we fall down here, I'm going to keep falling down. The reason why we needed the flame ability is because of these ice blocks right here. You have one there on the right guarding a maximum tomato. I probably could have broke those and gotten that maximum tomato, but I'm probably not going to, just to be a little extra cautious. I don't want to fall down there and not somehow get back up, even though I'm sure I could probably get out of there very easily. But if you break the ice blocks that are guarding this pathway right here, you will notice that we have yet again more blocks covering an entranceway. If we get rid of the flame ability, we can just suck those up and spit them out. I think I have to do it again. Yeah, here we go. You definitely don't want to get rid of the flammability permanently, just temporary there, because if you go inside of this cave, you will find to the left more ice blocks, revealing the next rainbow drop. Very nice. Don't have to worry about anything on the right there. It's just a Gordo. I think he's just, you know, chilling there all lonesome. So we're going to avoid that and come back outside. So yeah, that's it for the rainbow drop. That is the next one that we did need Kine in order to get. It's pretty much impossible without the flammability as well. So again, this is where, really in the game where they start requiring you to do a little bit more work in order to get them. You're not just going to find a room, have the ability right next to it, and be able to go back and grab it like we did previously. So keep that in mind. But this is the exit door. We're going to take that before we fall to our spiky death. Jump all the way as high as we possibly can. Grab the star, and we're going to end the stage. That was the very last stage of Iceberg. Very nice. And it is now time to take on the next boss. Just behind this door. Let's go. This is the Ice Dragon. This guy is actually pretty cute looking. He's a little bit more threatening than he seems, though, because he has the power to bring these icicles down from wherever the hell they're falling, down on top of your head to cause quite a bit of damage. He is actually pretty menacing. Even though he looks very cute, he's kind of a pain in the ass. Alright, lost connection with my controller again right there. That was a very inconvenient time for that to happen. And of course, that's going to result in me dying here, unfortunately. Alright, so getting back into the fight. Yeah, like I was saying, he can bring down these icicles from above. So with his stomp attack, not only can he bring down those icicles from above, he can also do another attack where he sends this gigantic avalanche at you from the ground. He also has Ice Breath, as you saw him do it just moments ago, where he can freeze you if you're standing too close to him, so you want to keep a good distance away from this dude. Other than that, he's pretty simple. He just is a little bit more intimidating because he throws quite a variety of attacks at you, and probably is the most threatening boss we've seen up until this point. Other than that, he shouldn't be too bad. He is pretty interesting. He's a dragon without wings, so I'm not sure if that's what makes him so angry or if he just hates living in the cold temperatures, but if he's an ice dragon, I think he can handle it. I mean, what do you think? But we're going to see if we can do this with no problem. Looks like he doesn't have much health left, and as long as my controller does not continue to disconnect on me, I think I should be good here. Let's see. All right, avoid the avalanche attack. Another one right there. Yeah, he sends that at you pretty quickly, so you got to be very quick on your feet in order to handle this. So, not too bad. Throw that back at him, and he is done. Do our little Kirby dance, and we're gonna move right along here. And off we go to the next destination, which is back in Iceberg. So we have, of course, the bonus chance that we need to attempt now. Let's head inside and take it on. So as you can see, we are now tasked with avoiding these dropping icicles that are going to drop down on our head. And this time we have to collect the stars and try to avoid the icicles. You can swallow them and spit them out. I'm going to try to do this the old school way and get hit. Damn it. Alright, one more time. Let's see how this goes. Let's see if I can actually do this. Get these stars and avoid the icicles. You know what? Screw it. We're going to do it the cheating way, and we're just going to swallow the icicles, because you can do that, and you can actually spit them out. So, kind of similar more to the Wispy Woods bonus chance, where you can just use Kirby's swallow ability to kind of make quick work of this. As long as you don't miss any of the stars, they will disappear after a short amount of time once they hit the ground. They give you, I think, like at least 5 seconds to collect it, but you just want to make sure you grab them as quickly as possible. But that's going to do it for that bonus chance. We got a perfect and another 1-up. Very nice. We are finally done with Iceberg. As much as I love it here, it's time to get to some warmer temps, don't you say? I'm kind of tired of the cold. So anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. Next time on Let's Play Kirby's Dream Land 2, we will be taking on the ferocious, the vicious Red Canyon. So until then, I will see you later.